Hello and welcome to Stories of Success. Today we will talk about Jacinda Ardern, the personal life, achievements and challenges of the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Ardern's partner is television presenter Clark Gayford. The couple first met in 2012 when they were introduced by mutual friend Colin Matura Jeffrey. They did not spend time together until Gayford contacted Ardern regarding a controversial Government Communications Security Bureau bill. Jacinda Kate Laurel Ardern is a New Zealand politician who has been the 40th Prime Minister of New Zealand and leader of the Labour Party since 2017. She was first elected to the House of Representatives as a list MP in 2008, and has been the Member of Parliament for Mount Albert since March 2017. On the 30th of January 2008, at 27, Ardern was elected President of the International Union of Socialist Youth. The role saw her spend time in several countries, including Hungary, Jordan, Israel, Algeria and China. It was midway through her presidency term that she became a list MP for the Labour Party. Ardern was one of 15 women selected to appear on the cover of the September 2019 issue of British Vogue. Forbes magazine placed her at 38 among the 100 most powerful women in the world in 2019. She was included in the 2019 Time 100 list and shortlisted for Time's 2019 Person of the Year. Ardern describes herself as a social democrat and a progressive. The sixth Labour government has focused particularly on the New Zealand housing crisis, child poverty, and social inequality. In March 2019, Ardern led the country through the aftermath of the Christchurch mosque shootings, rapidly introducing strict gun laws. Throughout 2020, she directed the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, which had been praised and endorsed worldwide. Ardern put forward her name for the Labour nomination for the Mount Albert by-election to be held in February 2017 following the resignation of David Shearer on the 8th of December 2016. She was confirmed as Labour's candidate at a meeting on the 22nd of January. Ardern won a landslide victory, gaining 77% of votes cast in the preliminary results. At 37, Ardern became the youngest leader of the Labour Party in its history. She is also the second female leader of the party after Helen Clark. Little stood down due to the party's historically low polling. She was unanimously confirmed in an election to choose a new leader at a caucus meeting the same day. In mid-August, Ardern stated that a Labour government would establish a tax working group to explore the possibility of introducing a capital gains tax. Finance spokesperson Grant Robertson later clarified that Labour would not introduce new taxes until after the 2020 election. The Labour and Green parties' proposed water and pollution taxes also generated criticism from farmers. On the 18th of September 2017, the farming lobby group Federated Farmers staged a protest against the taxes in Ardern's hometown of Morrinsville. A non-binding referendum to legalise cannabis was held in conjunction with the 2020 general election on the 17th of October 2020. In the referendum, voters rejected the proposed cannabis legalisation and control bill by 51.17%. Ardern admitted to past cannabis use during a televised debate prior to the election. On the 15th of March 2019, 51 people were fatally shot and 49 injured in two mosques in Christchurch. In a statement broadcast on television, Ardern offered condolences and stated that the shootings had been carried out by suspects with extremist views that have no place in New Zealand or anywhere else in the world. Ardern was the first signatory of a national condolence book. She travelled to Christchurch to meet first responders and families of the victims. In an address at the Parliament, she declared she would never say the name of the attacker. On the 14th of March 2020, Ardern announced in response to the COVID-19 pandemic in New Zealand that the government would be requiring anyone entering the country from midnight the 15th of March to isolate themselves for 14 days. She said the new rules will mean New Zealand has the widest-ranging and toughest border restrictions of any country in the world. National and international media covered the government response led by Ardern. In mid-April 2020, 2 applicants filed a lawsuit at the Auckland High Court against Ardern and several government officials, including Director General of Health Ashley Bloomfield. Post-lockdown opinion polls showed the Labour Party with nearly 60% support. In May 2020, Ardern rated 59.5% as preferred Prime Minister in a Newshub Reid research poll, the highest score for any leader in the Reid research poll's history. In the 2020 general election, Ardern led her party to a landslide victory, winning an overall majority of 65 seats in the 120-seat House of Representatives. She also retained the Mount Albert electorate by a margin of 21,246 votes. On the 2nd of December 2020, Ardern declared a climate change emergency in New Zealand and pledged that the government would be carbon neutral by 2025. As part of this commitment towards carbon neutrality, the public sector will be required to buy only electric or hybrid vehicles. All 200 coal-fired boilers in public service buildings will be phased out. Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Megan Woods, announced new reforms. These reforms included the removal of the interest rate tax deduction, lifting housing aid for first home buyers, renewed allocation of infrastructure funds for district councils, and an extension of the Bright Line test from 5 to 10 years. On the 14th of June 2021, Ardern confirmed that the New Zealand government would formally apologise for the dawn raids at the Auckland Town Hall on the 26th of June 2021. The dawn raids were a series of police raids which disproportionately targeted members of the Pasifika diaspora in New Zealand during the 1970s and early 1980s. On the 26th of January 2021, Ardern stated that New Zealand's borders would remain closed to most non-citizens and non-residents until New Zealand citizens have been vaccinated and protected. The COVID-19 vaccination program began in February 2021. In early December 2020, Ardern expressed support for Australia during a dispute between Canberra and Beijing over Chinese Foreign Ministry official Zhao Lijian's Twitter post alleging that Australia had committed war crimes against Afghans. She described the image as not being factual and incorrect, adding that the New Zealand government would ray. Ardern has described herself as a social democrat, a progressive, a Republican and a feminist. She has described the extent of child poverty and homelessness in New Zealand as a blatant failure of capitalism. Ardern advocates a lower rate of immigration, suggesting a drop of around 20,000 to 30,000. Ardern has voiced support for a two-state solution to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. She has condemned the death of Palestinians during protests at the Gaza border. Ardern revealed an empathy, steel and clarity that in the most appalling circumstances brought New Zealanders together and inspired people the world over. It was a strength of character that showed itself again this week following the tragic eruption at Whakaari. Toby Manhire, the spin-off, the 11th of December 2019. Raised as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in New Zealand, Ardern left the church in 2005 at age 25. She said it conflicted with her personal views, in particular her support for gay rights. As Prime Minister in 2019, she met the president of LDS Church, Russell M. Nelson. This was a story of success about Jacinda Ardern. If you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe and join us for more.